Hello and welcome to the Jack and Joe show and Joe Sansom. Wow, Saturday was massive.
I was not expecting this episode to be a positive one. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be a shocker, but when we ended filming last week and you said you never know what could happen, I have to admit, I didn't think we were going to get something on Saturday, but how wrong I was. It was just a fantastic day, an unbelievable atmosphere at Craven Cottage. And I don't mean that lightly. It's been said by several people that aren't even Fulham fans. It just seemed like it was our day. And on another day, we definitely get 3 points. A fantastic performance. It was one of those days, Jack, where I feel like once we got to the ground, I don't know if it was the same for you, the vibe around the place was just immaculate. It was just like a special day and we were seeing something special.
It was incredible. I'll just say that if there are some slight Wi-Fi issues, I don't know if it's myself or Joe. We apologise. We don't want it to happen on such a big video, but it's one of those things. Internet's something to play up, but we'll try and get through it. For those who don't know, it finished Fulham 2, Liverpool 2. Big old Desmond on the opening day. And it's the second time in 3 years that we've played Liverpool at home, and we've aggrieved that we've come away with a point. And I know Liverpool have their chances, Ream clear off the line, we'll get into it. But my goodness, I had this feeling as soon as I arrived at pre-drinks at my friend Will's, I had this feeling we were going to get a result. Honestly, it was the sun shining. It didn't feel like pathetic fallacy, when it's raining and you're like, oh, we're going to lose today. Or like the district line's down, so you have to get the 93 to Putney and you automatically know you're going to lose when that happens.
Yeah, that's
a
true.
superstition of mine. Joe, it was just an incredible day, and I really wish we had about 5 hours to sit down at it and publish it on YouTube. Unfortunately, we don't have that sort of time. But let's just get into it. What a game. And from minute one, Mitro, who is definitely on fire in the Premier League, he was going through and he toe punted it wide, but it was a pace setter. And this is what I said to my brother Luke yesterday. He was like, oh, we played so well because the atmosphere was so good. And I would agree, the atmosphere was great. But that chance after 1 minute really got the crowd going, got the players going. And Liverpool, we just stifled them. It was absolutely incredible. Joe, how did you enjoy your day out at Craven Cottage?
Oh, well, honestly, I mean, in complete sincerity, one of my favourite ever days. It was just, I think you're completely right that the intensity and intent from us minute one, when we forced that chance for Mitrovic by basically robbing Liverpool of the ball in their half, it just really set the tone. And from that minute on, it seemed like the players believed, the fans believed that we could, that they're not unbeatable. We beat them last time round. We took 4 points off them. 3 games unbeaten against them now. And arguably, we should have won all 3 games when you think about it. Really, really fantastic. And I think that I want to come straight onto our midfield, Jack, because I think minute 1 to minute 90, they worked tirelessly. They were flawless. And Polinia in particular, I mean, there's an article out about it on the Fulhamish website. It's about great debuts. I can't remember a better debut from a Fulham player. I thought he was absolutely flawless. I thought he would slot into Liverpool's midfield seamlessly. I thought he was the best midfielder on the pitch by a country mile. And for us to be saying this about a Fulham player, I think is unbelievable. And what a gem we found.
I don't want to dampen the mood. I'm pretty sure you've just seen what I've just seen. Peter Rutzer with a tweet. I've been asked a lot about this, and as has been reported elsewhere, I understand that Manuel Neuer has suffered a knee injury. Time frame for his absence should become clear in the next few days. But a blow for Fulham, the player. That's a real negative. I'm sure we'll come on to it a bit later. The news that came out last night. But like you just said, Polinia, wow, he's different gravy. And, we watched the Villarreal friendly and I thought, okay, he's good, but he's not quite with the pace of the game. He wasn't standout. He was quite erratic in tackles, I mentioned last week. But I mean, we were thinking, is he going to be match fit? Has he got the match sharpness to fit into a Premier League fixture against a rampant Liverpool team? And my word, he swept up everything. And he complements Harrison Reed so well. And in terms of the balance of midfield, with Pereira sitting in front, and they were sort of playing a 4-4-2 out possession, or a 4-4-1-1 if you really want to be precise. Pereira, wow. It's almost like we got, I always described Harrison Reed as a bit of a pitbull player. It's like we got 3 pit bulls in the middle of the park. They just chased on everything. And I know that was the game plan specifically to shut down Liverpool and press them high. And stop them from having any, large spells on the ball. But, the Premier League is all about adapting to each opponent, as I'm sure we'll play in a slightly different way on Saturday as we did, last Saturday. But I have to say that, and obviously I think we'll just come on to it because I'll ask you about it, that the compliments we got from the mainstream media, most of the mainstream media, not the one incident we won't talk about, was absolutely brilliant. Sitting and watching Match of the Day, having Ian Wright and Alan Shearer talk about us and not Liverpool. First on Match of the Day, first game of the season. Joe, it was one of the best days of my life ever. Unbelievable. And yeah, one of the best Fulham games I've ever seen. Definitely. They had the nice little, we are back Premier League things.
Yeah.
Hung that up on my wall today. Thought, I'm really proud to be back. And I tweeted last night that, we lost 3-0 to Arsenal on the opening day, and it was so damp and dire and just awful. And then obviously we went on to subsequently lose the next couple of games. But to start the season off with a point against, arguably the second best team in the league sets us in good stead. And I just want to ask you about, how you felt after the game, the perception of Fulham in the week on the likes of 5 Live and TalkSport and Sky. Doesn't that just feel great? And I know it's only one game and it could all go horribly wrong. It could all go tremendously right. But tell me how that makes you feel and the perception of Fulham at this early stage.
Yeah, it makes me feel really proud because I think myself, like you, like probably everyone watching this video, we have to stand up for Fulham in debates and things like that. And people will, take the piss out of us, say, what a yo-yo club. Mitrovic can't do it in the Premier League. Liverpool are going to batter you. And it's just things like that. And it feels like every single one of them was answered, at least for one day, and almost proving with Fulham, we can do this. We are good enough. We do deserve to be here. And I was just so proud of them after the game. And that comparison with the Arsenal game a couple of years ago is perfect because it was just the most catastrophic start to the season. Obviously, one game doesn't relegate you the same way one game doesn't keep you up. And, we may end up going down and this may be a false dawn. I really hope it isn't. And I don't think it is, but it's possible the same way that after that Arsenal game, we could have well stayed up comfortably. It's just one game. But that Arsenal game, there was just like a cloud over Fulham, and it was like everyone inside the club, outside the club was going on about how we weren't good enough, how we were a waste of a space in the league. And it really feels like this result has made people stand up and pay attention. Sit up, I should say. Hopefully stand up in a few weeks when we get a few wins. It's just a great feeling. And it's one of those things where even if the worst happens this Saturday, let's say we lose to Wolves, for example, I think we've gained some credit in the bank that we're not a waste of space, that we are a Premier League quality team. We have more additions coming in. We'll talk about another one of those in a minute. We should also mention that since last week, we brought in Shane Duffy. It was another addition to the squad that we were not expecting at all. But welcome, Shane, and hopefully he'll play a part. Obviously, when he's been on the pitch so far, we've conceded 0 goals. I just want to put that out there now, early doors. He was on for about 30 seconds, but every
Henderson did
second
hit the bar, though.
counts. Henderson did hit the bar. I think Duffy just put him off enough to put it slightly too high. But Jack, in answer to your question, because, like you, I care deeply about the perception of Fulham, and maybe that's, a bit immature of me, but it gave me great joy seeing how people were talking about our club, because we're always going to be positive if we get a positive result. But it was great to hear those things, and it's one of the days that I'll remember as a Fulham fan.
It was, truly fantastic. I think the atmosphere was just brilliant. There's such a feel-good factor. I was in the concourse before, and I was speaking to Sammy, and we were like, "Oh, you never know, we might get something." And I spoke to my friend Liam, who was obviously on the on Jack and Joe show when it was SW6 Central, when it all went so horribly wrong against Villa. And I just said, "Oh, yeah, he said to me, we're going to lose there," and I said, "Yeah, we probably will." But there was just this certain feeling around the teams came out, and from kickoff, like I said, we were at it. And actually, there's sort of a parallel there with the Villarreal game, because from the first minute in that game, we created a very good opportunity, albeit as a friendly. But it maybe does show that Fulham are trying to start games very fast and sort of get on the front foot, and doesn't really matter on who the opposition is. So I do briefly want to touch on the goals, obviously. Great cross from Tete. Cabana does well to stay on side. He angles his his run. You've seen it so many times. But can we talk about Mitrovic as a
Yeah.
whole, his whole performance? Would you say that his performance in Fulham shirt is definitely one of, I would argue it's his best, surely?
Yeah, I think it's his best because he got to put into context the opposition, and
Mm,
the defence he's coming up against is not. I mean, I know he made it look easy, but it's not easy. Van Dijk is a fantastic centre back, so strong aerially. Um, I think we pinpointed their weak point, which is defensively Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I think that we dealt with him fantastically. I think we nullified him going forward as well, and what I loved about us on Saturday was our physicality. We weren't a soft touch. We really, really battered them at times physically. And I think Mitrovic summed that up perfectly with that run where he shrugs off Henderson, Cruyff turns Van Dijk, and then pings it out to Pereira on the left wing. It was just fantastic all-round centre-forward play, and he was doing it in both boxes. And that cross, like you say, from Tete, fantastic. Now that we've got Mbabu providing some pressure on him, and we've got two really good fullbacks as options for the right-hand side.
mm,
Anthony Robinson, probably his best game in a Fulham shirt in my eyes, on the
yeah.
left-hand side. Ream, Tosin and Rodak, I thought they all had good games. I do want to come on to Ream and Tosin a little bit later in a slightly, and it's really picky, negative light. I don't want to bash anyone, but in terms of Liverpool's goals.
Mm.
And then obviously everyone else is fantastic as well. But Mitrovic, best game in a Fulham shirt against the best opposition that we faced in a Fulham shirt other than Man City since he's joined. And it's put to bed. He can do it in the Premier League if he gets service.
There was a period in the game where I did get very nervous. Well, to be fair, I was nervous the whole 90 when we had the lead.
Yeah.
This was huge. It was a huge deal. But it was just after they equalised through Nunez. And they just had that spell where they were looking very threatening, very dangerous. And I thought to myself, well, we took the lead. They've equalised. Did we just peak too soon? Has the quality shown for Liverpool and they're going to go on to win this? And then Manuel Solomon with a good pass over to Mitrovic, took on Van Dijk down. And from where I was standing, I was like, that is a penalty. I saw the contact. The referee's going to give it. And he did give it. And then there was that slight wait with VAR. But I was pretty sure it was going to get given. It did get given, Joe. And what I didn't like was he made it very clear where he was going from the way he was standing. But he still managed to tuck it away in the corner past Alisson. And 2-1 up. And suddenly, I was thinking 5 minutes ago, I was thinking we're going to lose this because of the way in which the game was swung through Liverpool's equaliser. Now we're back in the lead. And we'd have to concede 2 more times to lose this. So the best we can get out of this really is probably a draw, to which we did. But Joe, that reaction from Fulham, despite it, coming out of nowhere really with that ball from Manuel Solomon, Matip basically gave the ball away, didn't he? Great response from Fulham after going down 1-1. Knowing the ascendancy would go back to Liverpool, we stuck in there and got ourselves a penalty.
Yeah, I thought we were really good on the counter-attack the whole game, and that summed it up. Several interceptions across the pitch from front to back, and Solomon's little cameo was very good. We'll come on to the negative news in a minute about him, obviously. Good interception, great ball to Mitrovic, and he looked really sharp. He looked really fit as well. That's one thing we didn't talk about earlier, and I think that his pace showed there, pace that he's not always shown for us, not to his detriment, just not the sort of player he is, but he looks faster. From my seat, I actually was convinced that this was going to get overturned. I've seen it back, and now I'm like, it was a definite penalty. Don't get me wrong, but when it first happened, I thought that I didn't see any contact, and I was like, it's Liverpool as well. I thought it would just get overturned.
Liverpool.
So I was delighted when it got given, and I was so delighted when he scored because, like you, and maybe this is a negative mentality to have. My initial thought was, I don't think we'll lose this now. It wasn't, I think we'll win. It was, I don't think we'll lose this now. And maybe that is a negative mentality due to the Liverpool team we're playing. But I was absolutely ecstatic. And I just wish we could have held on a bit longer, would be my only gripe, because it only took 8 minutes for them to get back in the game from when the penalty went in with Salah. But look, Jack, a draw is an incredible result. And I don't even want to nitpick the goals they scored, because I take back what I said earlier, because we've done fantastically well here. Ream, we've said before, and Tosin should not have been in a position, realistically, where they started the first game in terms of reinforcements we think should have been brought in. That they've made a laughing stock of that in terms of they did so well. I do still think that's not the partnership to keep us up. We're bringing in Issa Diop, who we'll talk about in a second. Shane Duffy's also through the door. I was expecting Leno to get the nod, but Rodak, one of my main problems with him is that he's quite slow to make decisions, slow off his line, slow distribution, and he answered all those things equally. He was very good and couldn't have done anything about either of the goals. So I'd be interested to see, Jack, after your final thoughts of the game, of course, what you would do in terms of your team for Wolves. Do you keep it the same? Because maybe this is a good time to talk about Issa Diop. He's having a medical at Fulham today, according to The Athletic. We're recording this on Tuesday, I should add. So by the time this video is released, he might even have been announced. We've obviously got Leno, we've got Mbabu, we've got Duffy, we've got several other options on the bench. We don't have Solomon, and we don't have Wilson, and we don't have Chalobah. But other than that, it's a full strength squad. So what would you do for this Wolves game? Are you sort of thinking keep the same formula? Because it feels harsh to drop someone after that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And the only thing I'd change, and again, this is harsh due to the nature of the performance from all 11 players, is put Leno in. You know, we signed him. He wants first team football. Play him.
Yeah.
And I thought Rodak, and actually when I read out the team news to friends at 11:30, I sort of said Rodak with no surprise that he was in the team because he's so used to seeing him in the starting 11. I genuinely forgot we had Leno in the club. But, you know, he is the better goalkeeper. I would play him. You know, it just increases our chances of getting a result. Do you know what I mean?
I think I have to agree. And it feels so harsh on Rodak, but I guess you have to think of it. Leno has left Arsenal where he's, let's face it, getting paid more than he is here, even if it's only slightly. Wouldn't surprise me for paying him quite a lot. Where he's sitting on the bench to play first team football. He's clearly been promised first team football. So how long do you leave it? Do you leave it until Rodak makes an error? I don't think anyone wants that because that means we've dropped points that we could have, gained. Yeah. So I feel like now is the perfect time for Rodak to bow out. He's done himself proud. He got his Premier League game. And I think it's time for Leno to come in. And that might be harsh and people in the comments might not like that. The rest of the team, I think you leave the same. My reasoning for that is Ream and Tosin, I thought they did well. I was happy with the fullbacks. I was happy with the midfield. And we don't have any options up front, even if we wanted to change it at this moment in time. You imagine Diop will be over the line from West Ham, who we've spoken about a lot previously. And Duffy, I don't know if Duffy was brought in to be a starter, so I don't expect him to go straight in. I don't know who he'd go in straight ahead of. So I think Leno would be my only change. I think I agree with you.
Yeah, I think so. Like Mbabu, no, no. Tete was good. He got the assist.
Fine, yeah.
In terms of Bobby D, Cordova-Reid and Cabano, I thought they were fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. The way in which Bobby D, Cordova-Reid held up the ball at times on the wing and created the space and the options. Cabano, of course, hit the post. I mean, I haven't talked about that. That's mad. Very well. Huddersfield 0, Preston 2. Terrible start to the season for Huddersfield. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the Carabao. Talking of which, the draw will be tomorrow night. We'll find out who we get. Who would you like to see us be drawn against?
AFC Wimbledon, right outside the window that you can see here, which is where I live. So I'd love to get them away from home, which wouldn't feel like away from home. What about you?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. AFC Wimbledon home.
But by the way, saying that, they're playing right now, so they might be out by the time this video comes out. So hopefully they're through. They're
playing at home to Gills, who, of course, they played about 10 days ago and won 2-0. So fingers crossed. Wolves probably keep the same team. Maybe bring Leno in. Maybe bring Diop in, but harsh on Tim Ream, who I thought was... I think he had that one moment where he made a bad touch and shepherded it out for a corner or a throw into Liverpool, which was slightly scary. But... the goal, they had a bit of a mix-up, but it was kind of weird, that goal. It was sort of an acceptance in the crowd that we conceded again.
Such a stupid goal, wasn't it? It just felt lucky, to be honest. It felt really lucky.
Bit bizarre, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was that ball over the top as well from Trent, and it sort of caught everyone out. And Ream shouldn't have really gone for the header, Tosin should have gone leave it, and we might have been okay in that situation. But even then, Liverpool were piling on the pressure. Okay, can we briefly talk about the other Premier League results, because they're all very relevant in where we want to be in the table, and every result matters. Bournemouth beating Villa. Now, I didn't see this one coming, but they were good value. I hate to say it. Villa was shocking, and are Villa now on the radar of relegation?
They have to be after a performance like that. I mean, Bournemouth, well-deserved win. Well done to them. It seems like they played a
Enjoy the money.
system. It seemed like they played a system that worked. 5 at the back.
Yeah.
I think Villa still had most of the ball, most of the attacks, but nothing dangerous. If you watch the highlights, there was never any real scares for Bournemouth at all. They seemed...
Boubacar Kamara's shot that went just wide. That was pretty close.
Yeah, I felt like they were comfortable for the most part. Yeah. Villa reduced the efforts from distance, really. And you've got to say fair play, Bournemouth. Well done to them. They brought in a couple of signings since that game. They were the other newly promoted team that did well. Forest did not so well. And in terms of performance, they're playing a Newcastle team that have obviously been fantastic since they've had that takeover last year. But the performance from Forest seemed very poor in terms of both the eye test and the stats board. I mean, no efforts on target is pretty abysmal in a Premier League game against a mid-table side. They're going to be bringing in more reinforcements, of course, but several new signings were in this team. They're going to need time to gel, and hopefully we use this time to get a bit of a head start moving away from them.
Wow. Fulham, 18-19, start the season, playing a lot of new players at home, this time at home to a mid-table Premier League team in Crystal Palace, lost 2-0. And Forest, they go away to a mid-table Premier League team in Newcastle and lose 2-0. The parallels are there, but let's not make a big deal out of it. Southampton, 4-1 loss, 1-0 up through James Ward-Prowse, of course. But, I mean, Spurs were quality. But that is a worry for Southampton, given their record, coming off the back of last season as well. Ralph Hasenhuttl is in a bit of Michael Tremblay.
Yeah, he is. And they looked defensively abysmal. I know they're playing Tottenham, so it might have just been a one-off. But then you could also say last season still counts, and it wasn't a one-off. They've been in awful form for a long, long time now. And I think the Salisu own goal summed it up, really, when things aren't going your way. If things are going your way, that doesn't end up in the back of the net. It probably goes out for a corner at the very worst. So, that was a really weird game to watch because they scored a great goal to open, scoring in a bit of a shock, let's face it. I believe their next game, correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, is Leeds at home. Is that right?
Is. Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
So that's quite an important one. And that's a bit more of a marker in terms of where they want to be this season. You'd be expecting a point at the very, very worst case scenario from that one. Other teams that didn't do great opening day, results-wise, Everton, I don't think they performed too badly in that game.
That was a shocking game.
It was an awful game, but I don't think that they were that much worse than Chelsea. I thought that they were both just two pretty poor sides on the day, and it was settled by a penalty in like the 10th minute of added time in the first half. And I guess another one to talk about, and I think this is not a team that is in any danger of going down, but just in terms of playing a top team, look at that West Ham performance on Sunday. And playing City is very different to playing Liverpool, and they had a lot of injury problems. So get all of those out of the way, because those are valid excuses. But it made me more proud of how we played against Liverpool, because West Ham are a better side than us. And the way we approached the game was far more positive than the way they played against City. And that made me proud.
Well, what West Ham did was they went, okay, we'll give it a go for the first 5-10 minutes. And then they just sat off City and just basically let them play. And that was such a downfall for them, because it allowed Haaland to make those runs, to which he won the penalty, to which he scored the second goal. De Bruyne just fed that ball through, and it was too easy. And when West Ham got the ball and tried to attack it, it was, half chances at most. Poor from West Ham. They are playing Nottingham Forest next on Sunday. That's a huge game. And I do want to flag up that Bournemouth's next 3 fixtures are City away, Arsenal at home, and Liverpool away. They had to get that 3 points. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're sitting on 3 points from 4 games. hopefully we can be on more than that. Joe, any last remarks before we go into a score prediction from the Liverpool game? Because I feel like so much happened. Let's get it
Yeah,
all off our chest before we move on to next week.
I just think enjoy it. Watch the highlights back. I did watch the full access video, which is fantastic. Watch the fan vlogs. We got a great result. I was expecting to be surrounded. I know that there was a lot. Liverpool fans all around the ground, winning
Wasn't too bad, was it?
easily. It was fine. The atmosphere was fantastic, and we did a wonderful job. The Putney end looks great, being home 3/4, away 1/4. Enjoy it, and let's make the atmosphere great for Brentford as well. I do want to make a note on the pre-match music, which I think was a great boost for starting an atmosphere. I do think it would be an own goal to play "Hey Jude" against Brentford, considering that
It's a Brentford thing.
they sing it, yeah, and I think that they'd sing it pretty loud. I hate to say if we play it then, but the Mitro's on fire was great to play pre-match. That got everyone going. I'd play Hey Jude at games that aren't Brentford. I think it got everyone. It's just a song that everyone knows. It's just getting people singing, standing up, and just getting a bit more involved. And I think that's what we needed, especially as don't know if you agree with me, Jack, but I'd say 12:30 Saturday, probably the hardest fixture to get the maybe fair weather fans going for. I feel like they're often more of the subdued atmosphere. But yeah, just enjoy it because, it was a great day. We'll always have it, and a wonderful performance to be proud of and a great result.
Yeah, there were so many little nuances in the game that I was so particularly proud of. The way in which Robertson dealt with Salah, Harrison, Jalini, and you can make a case for all the players. Made a terrific performance. I watched the whole game back on BT Saturday evening, and it was just a joy to watch. It was fantastic. McManaman wasn't happy because he's obviously a Liverpool fan. No idea.
I mean,
that
is music to my ears that he wasn't happy. That is music to my ears.
He wasn't unhappy in a obvious way, but you can just tell from his passive aggressive nature on co-coms. It was funny. So, Wolves away. We're both going. Happy days. Let's pray we can get up there okay with those bloody train strikes and have a couple Madries before the game.
Oh, without a doubt. I think several Madries. I reckon we've got to go score predictions, Jack.
Yeah.
I'm feeling giddy because of the Liverpool game. But I'm trying to remain level-headed because this is a big game for Wolves. They've had a really negative summer. The fans are not very happy. They've just brought in Guedes, who will be able to play on Saturday. Very good signing, necessary signing as well. They weren't great against Leeds. I think they were probably good value for a draw in terms of stats, in terms of the highlights. If you watch it, they had a decent amount of chances, but they didn't get it. And for that reason, I think they really need to get something from this one. I think they will. I think it will be a draw. And I still think that's a better result for us than them. You've got to remember this sort of position we're trying to finish. Any result away from home is a bonus in my eyes. That's every point counts. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think that Mr. Mitrovic will get another. That is my little shout. And the only other question, Jack, before you give your prediction, are we going to be playing in green, or do you reckon we'll just wear the white?
I think it'll be white.
I think
there'd be no
white.
reason to play in that mint green. There's no reason.
The only one I can think of is black shorts clash.
All white. I mean, we've worn all white before.
All white, yeah.
Yeah, because I think sometimes they have the gold shorts, you'd wear black, and that would be fine. But I mean, we could see the mint green. I'm also going to echo you. That's exactly what I was about to say. 1-1, Mitrovic to score for Fulham, Podence to score for Wolves.
Okay.
I mean, I really want to win this to get onto 4 from 2. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah.
And I think of going there last season and getting a 2-1 win. I think it might be a 2-0 win, actually. They were 2-0 up quite early on in that game. That was at 12:30 on BT. I remember watching in the Golden Lion, absolutely horrified about what I was seeing. And Buemo scoring, I think, and an own goal or something. I don't know, can't remember. But I'm going to stick with 1-1, and anything we do get plus that, in a win would be fantastic if we get the win. You don't want to go back onto ground zero and a loss after such a fantastic positive result against Liverpool. But Joe, I mean, I can't believe it. We've sat here 3 times and we've talked about a win and 2 draws over Liverpool. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And all of them completely deserved. We haven't just sat back and nicked a point. Not that there'd be anything wrong with that. That'd be great. But I think that we've really taken the game to them all 3 times. And that's something to be very proud of. I think the most important thing is that Craven Cottage was a hard place for them to come. And I hope that that remains the case all season, because home form keeps you up, and it kept us up for over 10 years. So that's what we need to try and get back to.
Huddersfield Town 0, Preston 3. Wow, I'm going to do a lot of reading on the forums tonight of Huddersfield Town. Ooh, to be a disastrous start. Joe, what a pleasure it's been. And any championship narratives? We don't have time to go into it. We don't have time. Thanks so much for watching. Joe, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks a lot, Jack, and thanks for watching, everyone. And if you're going to Wolves, then see you there.
Yeah, hopefully everyone makes it up in with good time. Everyone makes it to the game. There's the tram from Birmingham. There's a taxi you can get. It's a bit of a strange one, but we'll be there in good numbers. Follow Fulham Away is back, and Jack and Joe will both be up there. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy that Liverpool game if you relive it, watch it again, and come on, Fulham.